How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to Hawk Fitness. In today's video, we're going to take a beginner look at supplements, mainly focusing on 3 key supplements: protein, pre-workout, and creatine. Remember, this is just the basics. We're going to go into more depth in future videos, but if you're looking to take your fitness to a more advanced level, supplements can help you do so. We're going to cover these 3 types of supplements, go over different types of them, as well as discover if you should or should not consider using them. Before we get into the video though, I need to say one thing. These are supplements. Supplements. Think about that word. That means they are supplemental to diet and exercise. They will not do anything for you. These just help you get to the place you want to get. If you take protein but you don't lift enough, you're not going to gain muscle mass. If you take creatine or pre-workout without working out, you're really not going to be getting any benefit from these. So you still need to put in the work. These can just help you get to a higher end goal. With that being said, let's jump into the first supplement we're going to talk about here today, that being protein. Protein is by far one of the most popular supplements on the market. It's actually the second most researched supplement behind creatine, which we're going to talk about later. Protein is mainly used for recovery after hard workouts and exercises. We're going to talk about the 2 main types of protein here today and discover really if you should be using either of them. We're going to start with whey protein, which is over here. Right after you're done working out, your body is really starving for something called amino acids. Your muscles are really torn up right when you're done working out, and your body is just desperately looking for something to start the recovery process. That is where whey protein comes in. Whey protein dissolves extremely fast into your bloodstream, and it fills your bloodstream with amino acids extremely quickly, and your body is starving for amino acids. So whey protein is great when taken within 30 minutes of finishing a workout. Any other time during the day, it's not going to be as effective. You'll still get the protein from it, but it is mainly used directly after workouts. And it'll definitely go into your bloodstream and into your muscles much faster than other types of conventional protein, like meat or beans or anywhere you'd ever get protein. Whey protein will get there faster. The thing you should know about whey protein, and actually all of these proteins, is that it basically, if you're going to buy a typical protein, it basically has only protein in it. I'm going to try to zoom in here on the nutrition facts. And as you can probably see, it has barely any fat and any sugars. And if I'll just read it to you right here, 24 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 gram of fat. So this stuff is purely protein, essentially 100% pure protein, and it's the best way to get protein after a workout, especially considering not only is your body starving for protein and amino acids, then your body generally needs a lot more protein if you're working out. So this can help you greatly. It speeds up your recovery process and hopefully will lead to you seeing some more results. Now there's another type of protein we're going to talk about here today, and that is called casein protein. Like I said, after you're done working out, your body's starving for amino acids. So what whey protein does is it just floods your bloodstream with a massive amount of amino acids, and then your body uses that up. But right after your workout, that is very different than, like, let's say the night after you've worked out. So you work out in the morning and then later that night you're going to bed. When you're going to bed, your body isn't starving for amino acids by any mean. It wants some, but it doesn't need them nearly as quick as whey protein provides. So what casein does is the exact opposite of whey protein. Instead of dissolving extremely fast, casein dissolves over the course of I think about 8 hours. I think this one boasts about 8 hours. So you can take it before bed, and what it does is it slowly releases amino acids to your bloodstream and to your muscles over the course of this longer period of time. And it helps build your muscles up and recover them in times that aren't directly after your workout. So casein is really great when taken in between meals or before bed, especially before bed, because it also has the added benefit of relaxing muscles. But that's not too big of a feature of it. More people want it for the protein. And just like the whey protein, most casein proteins are going to contain almost 100% protein. This one has 24 grams of protein, only 2 grams of sugar, and only 2 grams of fat. So a little bit more than the last one, but still, compared to the protein content, it's almost 100% protein. And it's pretty good stuff for you. And this stuff's going to be really helpful for recovering after a hard day at the gym or running or anything that really makes your muscles more tired. Now, before we go, I'd like to talk about some other types of proteins, including one which is basically a blend. This is a blend of whey and casein protein, and I take it sometimes because, you know, after you're done working out, if you don't think you can get a meal right away, it's pretty good to have casein in your system. That way your body can be recovering over the course of the next few hours, not just the next like 1 hour. And what casein does mixed with whey is it gives you that immediate benefit of flooding your body with amino acids as well as the long-term release of them over the next few hours. But if I can get a meal after I'm done eating, I usually stick to just whey. This is just for if I can't get a meal directly after a workout. There's also a few other types of protein. I don't have any examples of them because frankly, I don't recommend taking them. There's soy protein, egg protein, amongst other types. And the thing about soy and egg proteins is they're just not as pure and not as good and rich in amino acids as these proteins are. They're not going to benefit your body nearly as much. And on top of that, soy protein has been researched and proven to actually raise your estrogen levels, even if you're a man. And a lot of men don't like that, so they stick away from soy protein. I highly recommend you stick with whey and casein protein. You really can't go wrong with either of these. And if you're trying to choose in between one or two of them, like if you only can pick one, I highly recommend the whey protein first. Casein is more of an advanced supplement, and I don't always even use it if I feel I don't need the instant recovery or I feel like I got a lot of protein during the day. But whey, I make sure to use after every single workout. Oh, and one last thing I should note about protein is there's basically no negative side effects. It's pretty safe to use. It's basically just protein from milk that's been put into a powdered form, added some artificial sweeteners to most of them, which allows you to just ingest it more easily. Now let's move on and talk about the heavy hitter of supplements, creatine. Creatine is a pretty crazy thing, guys. It is probably the most researched supplement on the planet. I actually think statistically, more money has gone into researching creatine than any other supplement in existence. And almost all of the research, 99.9% of it, has concluded that creatine is totally safe to use. So what does creatine do for me, and why should I take it? Well, this stuff is pretty crazy. It's actually really good for you. It actually helps you build muscle faster, it lets you get stronger faster, improves anaerobic endurance, so cardio, and speeds up muscle recovery. It sounds too good to be true, and a lot of people think that the first time they hear about creatine, but it is actually very safe to use. I promise you there's no negative side effects. It actually occurs naturally in things like beef, and it's actually in your body right now, and you probably don't know it. The good thing about it, though, is that people have devised ways to make it into a more powdery form, which I can show you here. Just a powdered form, kind of like powdered sugar, this stuff. And it's super easy to ingest. And when you ingest more than you just get from beef, creatine is actually some pretty crazy stuff. Now, there's a few different types of creatine we're going to talk about here today. The one I use, and the one that most people use, is creatine monohydrate. And you can get it in two varieties, regular creatine monohydrate and one version called micronized creatine monohydrate. It says it right there. Micronized just means it's in smaller particles and it dissolves easier. Not too different of a supplement. Creatine monohydrate, what it does is when you start taking it, you have to go on something called a load phase, which means for the first 5 days or so of this stuff, you're going to take 4 or 5 times the regular amount you would. And trust me, once again, I'm going to say this, it is not dangerous at all. It's not a stimulant. It won't affect your heart rate at all. It won't do anything crazy like that. It just goes into your muscles and, well, let me explain what it does actually. So the first few days on creatine monohydrate, you have to do something called a load phase, which is where you flood your body with creatine. That way it gets used to having it there. So you take about 5 times the amount you normally would, like 5 scoops a day. After that, you take 1 scoop a day, generally before or after you work out. It doesn't really matter as long as you take it at the same time every day. And what creatine monohydrate does is it floods your body and your muscles with water, and it creates spaces in your muscles where water exists. So first of all, it's going to bloat your muscles and make them look a little bit bigger. And second of all, when you actually work those muscles, then you'll have a little bit more muscle endurance to go a little bit longer. And when they recover, there's more room for recovery because of the space the water had created before. That's the basic explanation I'm trying to give to you without going too scientific. That's basically what creatine monohydrate does. And I can say from experience, and lots of research can back me up and say, this stuff works. It's the most researched form of creatine. Creatine monohydrate if you're new to creatine, is a great go-to supplement, especially considering it's dirt cheap. I think this one right here, 72 servings, and for the first few days you'll take extra, but after that you take one a day. So this would last me over 2 months, and this was around $20. $10 a month is something I think a lot of people can afford. This one I think was even cheaper. There's a few different brands, but you really can't go wrong with any form of micronized creatine or creatine monohydrate, which both of these are. They're just in its micronized form. Now, I don't have any examples of it, but there's another form of creatine that's kind of taken the world by storm. Not really, but it is gaining popularity, and it's called creatine HCl. Creatine HCl, or hydrochloride, is a different form of creatine which doesn't actually require the load phase that this one does. So this creatine floods your body with water, and it actually makes you gain a little bit of water weight because of it, because your muscles are filled with water, where creatine HCl doesn't actually do that. And it claims to have all of these same exact positive effects of creatine without the load phase needed, so you don't need to take extra, and without the bloating with water, so you won't gain that weight. Now, lots of research has shown that creatine works as well, but the research trying to prove that it works better or even on the same level as this one is kind of inconclusive. I haven't found anything that convinces me that creatine HCl is better or even as good as monohydrate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and recommend try creatine monohydrate if you really want to get serious with fitness. Basically, it helps with every goal. It just enhances whatever you're doing. It's kind of like steroids. It's going to sound like steroids, but steroids are actually completely different. We're going to have a video talking about them and why you shouldn't use them, obviously. But these aren't that. This is a perfectly safe supplement you can use to boost your fitness capacity. Now, we're going to go back and talk about one thing I mentioned earlier right now, which is that these are supplements. Remember, these aren't going to do it all for you. Creatine isn't just going to make you big because you lift. It'll help you. It might help 10 or 20%, but it's not going to like double your gains you receive. It's not going to double the muscle you gain. It's nothing crazy like that. These help you. They don't make you immediately better. If you have any questions, by the way, of anything I'm mentioning here, be sure to leave them down below. I'm going to try to respond to all of them because, well, this is just a basics video. We're going to go more into depth. We're going to have a whole video about creatine, protein, pre-workout, and all these later on if you're looking for a little bit more information. Now let's move on and talk about pre-workout. And I hesitate to put pre-workout in this video because it's really not for beginners. Pre-workout is some pretty intense stuff. The only reason I am including it is because I wanted this video to be about popular supplements you've probably seen or heard of, and pre-workout is a very popular supplement. So let's talk about what it is, what it does to your body, and if you should or should not take it. I'm probably gonna actually scare you away from taking it today, because like I said, it's some intense stuff. What you do with pre-workout is you take it, well, before you work out, quite obviously. And what it's supposed to do is make your workout or your exercise better. You're supposed to be able to go harder, faster, better, faster, harder, stronger, you know, Daft Punk, right? It's supposed to make your workouts more intense and allow you to get through them and see more results because of the intensity you bring into your workout. Now, this sounds pretty good, right? But out of the 3 supplements we talked about today, these are by far the most dangerous because they contain stimulants. The other 2 don't, a lot don't. These do. Most of them contain caffeine. However, some of them contain some freaky stimulants I've never even heard of and you can't find any research on. So the first thing I'm going to say about pre-workout is if it has a stimulant in it other than caffeine, I would stay away from it. You don't know what that can do to your heart. And even the ones with caffeine, let's take a look at how much caffeine one of these has. This one has, I believe, 300 milligrams of caffeine. That's way more than your average cup of coffee. And on top of that, you know, pre-workouts also boast not only stimulants, but other things to help build muscles and increase your endurance and strength. And some of these things include creatine, like we talked about before. This one contains vitamins in it as well, which is pretty good. And some contain amino acids. And amino acids are actually their own form of supplement. We're not going to include it in today's video, but we will be talking about that in the future. Amino acids are actually great for muscle recovery, and they usually don't have stimulants. So stay tuned for that video. But for now, pre-workout. If you're looking to make your workouts more intense, you might want to try this. But like I said, pre-workouts have stimulants in them. And once you start taking it, they do work. I'm just going to say it right now. Pre-workout does work. It does make you more intense. And lots of people describe taking pre-workout as wanting to rip someone's head off in the gym because this stuff hits hard. It really does. It's going to make you perform better in the gym. But I have to really warn you on this one, guys. I'm not responsible for what you do to your heart or your body when you take this stuff because stimulants are dangerous. They're bad for your heart and they're honestly addictive. I've gone through phases where I take this stuff every day for months at a time, and honestly, that is no good for you. Taking 300 milligrams of caffeine in a day, and even more if you're taking soda or you're drinking coffee, isn't good. Pre-workout's some scary stuff. So just know that about pre-workout. Some ingredients you should be aware of include 1, caffeine. That's one that I talked about. That's the most common stimulant. It's found in coffee. It's found in Mountain Dew soda or whatever. That's in there. Anything over 150 milligrams is gonna feel intense to most people. 150 milligrams will give you a little bit of energy. Anything over 150, like this one has 300, it's gonna feel intense. And anything over 300, that's gonna really make your heart beat. Like I've tried some of those. They'll make your head spin, honestly. So be aware of those. If you're looking for one for beginners, definitely try something with low amounts of caffeine. Another ingredient you should be aware of is creatine, but we already talked about it, so I don't need to go into it too much. Some of them are just convenient. Like this one has creatine in it. This one also has creatine in it. This one's actually really good. Now, I'm not sponsored by them, but this one's called The Curse. And if you're new to pre-workouts, I recommend trying something like this, because what this one has is literally just caffeine, 2 amino acids, and creatine. That's it. 3 ingredients, and it only has 145 milligrams of caffeine. So the Curse is great for beginners, by the way, or anything like that. Simple. Less ingredients for newer people is better, because there's so many ingredients in pre-workout. You sometimes don't even know what you're getting. And then the last ingredient you should be aware of in pre-workout is something called beta-alanine. And beta-alanine is also some weird stuff. It's been pretty well proven to increase muscle endurance over time, but the reason you should be aware of it is because it makes your skin tingle and feels like there's pins and needles on the inside of you poking out. And that's a extremely weird feeling. So if you take a pre-workout with beta-alanine in it, you're gonna feel weird the first few times. Like it's gonna feel like you're gonna feel itchy, you're gonna feel like pins and needles are poking all over you. It's gonna feel weird. That is just the beta-alanine in this. It's perfectly safe. You'll get used to it as long as you don't take it in too much amounts. And even too many amounts isn't gonna hurt you as far as the beta-alanine goes. The caffeine will hurt you. Beta-alanine isn't something you really should be too worried about. Now, before we go and move on, I actually want to address a different type of pre-workout, or really just a different type of supplement, which is a fat burner. Fat burners like this one can be used as a pre-workout, but instead of boasting things like creatine and beta-alanine, they boast other things like various vitamins and various things like, obviously caffeine. This one has green coffee extract, green tea extract, things that are supposed to help you lose weight. Do these work? Personally, I've found that a lot of fat burners are more energy based than they are actual fat burning, which means when you take a fat burner like this, it's not actually going to be doing the fat burning. You're going to be doing the fat burning, it's just going to give you the energy to do so. And if you're going to do that, you might as well ditch it and use regular pre-workout. That's just my 2 cents on the issue. We're going to talk a lot more about fat burners in the future though, so if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. Thank you all for watching this video. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them down below. Hopefully I answered some questions for you about the nature of supplements. In the future, we're going to talk about a few different types of supplements, including amino acids, which I personally really like, and I think these are really good for you. Fat burners, like we mentioned, and then a few different novelty supplements like that claim to do things but don't have a lot of research behind them. We'll talk about those, as well as testosterone boosters, which are pretty weird things that I'm gonna have to make a whole video on to really talk about. But anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully this was helpful to you all. Be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you guys all later.